Hello. We already talked about triggers, and triggers, it's such a beautiful topic. In the past, I hated triggers. I really thought, like, how can other people, how can they just find the sweet spot of, deeply hurting me? Especially the ones we are very close with and really love. That's where it mostly happens, that they can, give us the mirror. And with this mirror, we can deeply see into ourselves and realize these minds. If you didn't see the video about triggers yet, I can just recommend you to first watch that one to understand a bit what is a trigger, and to then see now in this video, how can you work with it? How can you be with the trigger once it arises? How can you be with that mind that's now founded? How can you be with that lower frequency, with this shadow aspect of yourself that suddenly came into the light? And I want to give you some of my experience, how I deal with triggers, how I also deal with triggers where I thought afterwards was a way, was not the best way. And what can we do with triggers? So the no-goes, kind of what we do often in the beginning when we didn't understand triggers yet, where we more think of you did this to me, you have to now suffer, be pushed back. Or if we more if we give the other person who unfolded with us this trigger right now, if we start to give them a hard time, that's not owning your shit. We often do that in the beginning. That's also okay, but it's about realizing that doesn't help you. That doesn't resolve the problem. If the other person just tries to tiptoe around your mind, that does not solve your problem. You will draw, law of attraction. You have that stuff still inside of you. You will still magnetize someone that will mirror you, your part. You will just attract another person, a colleague, a friend, a new person that comes into your life, a person in the train, an animal maybe even. Someone else will visualize for you what is going on inside of you if you give the responsibility still to others for what you feel. That's the first part. I also so much in the past, especially then I think with my family, but also sometimes with other people, with my partners, really is that's so mean how they are, how they make me feel, how they treat me, how can they say something like that so I feel this way. I didn't go very much into the victim mode, I have to say, for myself, but I know people who really go into this energy of read you. It's just about you and you. And that's then also, you can even broaden that sense of the state, the politicians, the news, the military, the president, the others, the cultures, the ethnics, the past, the future. You can always go into victimizing and blame something else. But it's so much about us taking accountability, what just arises in our life. And if you feel like someone says something to you, maybe with your partner, other example. I have a very good example. I was working still with a company, and I had a colleague. And this colleague said something to me. And in my mind, it very much arrived in a way of little girl, you should now better do this. And I really felt how can you say that? How can you just, my mind then started to go into a direction of how can you treat me like this little child, like this girl, like this assistant? I have this very important job here. I really went internally into the defensive mode. Externally, I went into the flight mode. I tried to avoid him. I tried to see when he's walking somewhere to just not talk with him anymore, to just always go another way when I saw him, because I wanted to avoid to meet him again. I wanted to avoid that he says something like that to me again. So I was luckily in that time already connected to theta healing, where it's also so much about understanding where does it come from? Why do I feel the way how I feel? And in that moment, it's so much when you feel something, when you feel offended, it's so much about owning. So I can just recommend you to then close your eyes And first breathe. And to remember, it is just a responsive system in you right now. It is just a responsive system. Someone pressed a button onto your system of experience and just replays something and just shows you something. So to breathe in and out, they are just saying something and your mind is interpreting it in the way how you learned it, in the way how you were most probably already treated in the past. And I was in the past a lot treated like the little one, not taken as serious. And what I see so much in that moment, it's about take a break, breathe, calm down your nervous system again. Do not believe your thoughts in that moment. You can look at them later, but first do not believe them. Continue breathing. And whenever a feeling might arise in that moment, allow yourself to be with that feeling. Energy and motion, emotion, it just wants to flow through. If we block it, if we don't allow the feeling that comes up in that moment, we block our energy. We just make the mind bigger. We just make it bigger. So if that happens at work, for example, to then just draw back to the toilet and like, okay, I breathe now through it. I allow my energy to release according to that topic that I still hold inside myself, to just breathe. Maybe some tears run, maybe some anger comes up, and just allow yourself to observe. It's like the fifth part. Observe. No action. Observe and let it flow. The one and only thing I recommend you to do is breathing. Breathe that feeling through. And then after some time, because energy wants to flow, if you give it the opportunity to flow, it will just flow. It will just calm down again. Okay? And what you can then do afterwards is maybe even also write down which thoughts did you have in that moment. Where do you know that from? For sure, you can also book yourself a session with someone to figure out where it comes from. But I love self-empowerment, so I also would recommend you to learn to assess that for yourself. Where do I know this feeling from? Where do I know this experience from? Yeah, I already experienced that with my dad. And then you can either imagine, that's a bit inner child work, to then imagine this small little one, you, and to also there to kind of give that imagination of embracing it and giving it all the love, all the understanding that it was seeking for in the past. And you can do that in the way of when you, maybe even already after feeling, maybe, but also later, you just take your time. Okay, let us just think about, where do we know that from? Okay, I remember that from the past with my dad. He always really made me feel not seen, not valuable. Okay, he's just mirroring me, this past experience, which I still hold as a kind of objective, as a kind of perspective inside myself, that I am this, even if I don't want to believe it anymore. And then it's like, okay, well, I remember this 4 or 5 year old one of mine. I imagine it, and I imagine maybe how it cries, and I let it cry. And I maybe imagine how it gets angry, and I let it just be angry. Maybe I also see it how it gets shameful, because it really felt like, how can someone treat me in that way? I really feel not good enough. And to also let it be shameful. And to maybe also let it be fearful, because it doesn't want to feel unworthy. So to also let it feel that. And then maybe to hug it, to imagine you give it everything that it needed in that moment. And that's the moment where you own your past, where you detect your trigger, where you I have to feel for the English word, where you unarmed your mind, because now the deeper emotion of that past experience is out. You gave it a space. It is seen. And then to just see afterwards, okay, how does it now feel? maybe even imagine, how would it now feel if that colleague would even still say that to me? Most probably he will not even say that to you anymore. So it's about calm down, take a moment for yourself, no reaction. Stop reacting. When you feel you want to look, when you feel it just wants to come very quickly out, stop. Stop. Breathe. Stop your thoughts. Do not believe whatever your mind wants to tell you in that moment. Feel. Breathe and let the feeling run through until it's finished. And then start to check in with yourself afterwards. Okay? Be that loving version with yourself. And if you have any questions, if you would like to comment how you maybe deal with triggers, that's like one way now how to deal with triggers, but that's like a very good beginner's way how to take ownership for the things that you feel and that you experience. And I might also share some other opportunities how you can work with triggers. I always feel like use your body, use your emotions, because in the end, the energy and motion just wants to flow through you. That's the only thing. So please comment if you feel like sharing something about your experience or if this helped you right now. Follow and subscribe my channel if you didn't do that yet. Give it a like, the video, if it supported you. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in the next video. So much love to you.